Hey guys, before we get started, I know this isn't the usual content I upload to my channel, but I was contacted by some family to help with the video and wanted me to share the experience, so here it is. This is how to build a mini rocket mass heater using a 4-inch system. This is based off of a post from Permies.com as well as others. This is a 4-inch system because we wanted it to work with our 2-story fireplace chimney that has a flue. This is just a temporary setup in case of an emergency, not a permanent feature. We managed to have no blowback on the system and reached a temperature of 800 degrees on the top of the barrel for a 4-inch system. An ash cleanout from the back of the exhaust pipe is required because fine ash does collect in the bend before going up the chimney. If this was to be implemented into a house as a permanent source of heat, we would probably recommend you go with a 6 or 8-inch system and vent the exhaust out of a proper hole drilled in the wall instead of an existing chimney. It should be stated that the current design should absolutely not be installed on a wooden subfloor, as we have caused some damage to the carpet underneath. We will make an updated video in the near future that will work with wooden subfloors. This is only to be installed on concrete or dirt floors. It must be said that this will void house insurance in the event of a fire, and we are absolutely not responsible for anything portrayed or recreated in this video. We assume no liability whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. Please use caution and build at your own risk. We do not recommend anything that will put your safety or property in danger. And please use all the necessary safety equipment in the building and operation of this furnace. Now that all that stuff is out of the way, step 1 is to burn the paint off of your barrel. So to get the paint off of the barrel, we use a wet and dry shop vac with the hose attached to the exhaust or blowing side. You can either use a shop vac, leaf blower, or air compressor, but keep in mind this took quite a while to burn the paint off and would give your compressor a workout. In our experience, this technique burned paint off the top of the barrel first and left paint near the bottom. To combat this, we let the wood inside burn down into coals and then use the air to get them good and hot. Be careful when doing this because there is a risk of blowing coals from the fire all over the place. For obvious reasons, do this on concrete or in our case snow because hot ashes and sparks fly everywhere. Let the barrel cool off and I'll let my partner explain the next step.
Cut a hole in the barrel. We're going to mark it on the outside. And then obviously stay within this line. We're going to, obviously it's hard to do a full circle all the way around because of the ridge in the barrel, so we're going to cut it first with the angle grinder and then sink it in to the barrel and then continue on with the markings after that so that we get a nice tight fit. And we're going to stay 2 inches above from here to keep the integrity of the barrel for the heat that's going to rise up. And this is a stovepipe, generally 8-inch piece of stovepipe that converts down to a 6-inch, and then we have a 6-inch galvanized pipe that we're not going to have directly with the heat that fits together into here, and then we're going to go from that up the chimney.
So like he said, grab your cylinders and side grinders and take them to the workshop. The highest spot on the barrel needs to be ground down so the stovepipe can fit into it. Once you have started, keep marking the barrel all the way around until you get a circle. It is better to undercut and feather it out after than to overcut and have a loose-fitting exhaust pipe. One tip for side grinders is to make your first cut light to create a groove to follow, rather than going hard and flinging giant shards of metal everywhere. Be sure to wear a full face mask when doing this because flying hot metal is no joke. Hearing protection is also recommended. Not necessary, but really recommended.
Grinding for about 2 hours. Got it to a pretty nice fit, I would say. And now we're just going to cut some slits into here with the tin snips, about 1 inch apart, and basically put it back in, and then bend the pieces inside the barrel so that it holds in the barrel. Or had more welding equipment, obviously for welding this in would be better, but we will deal with what we have. One other thing you want to do with the stovepipe is when you start your cuts, like start your 1-inch cut right on the seam here, so that you know when you go around and you're not gonna, you start off at this point and then your cuts will just work out better than getting a cut right on your seam.
for the stovepipe.
If you have a welder, this would be where you should take the paint off of the stovepipe and prepare that. After you get the seam facing the direction of your liking, you can begin to trace the outline of the barrel onto the stovepipe. Once finished, measure and mark out 1-inch lines around the pipe to cut with your tin snips.
They're plain.
That's what we need, that guy.
After the pipe has been cut, place it back into the barrel and fold back the metal using a hammer to flatten it out. One trick we have for finding leaks and cuts that were too deep is to take a work light or any other light source and stick it inside the barrel to look for escaping light. Now it's time to fire up your welder, or in our case bust out the mortar. It's designed for fire bricks and we're applying it to a shiny metallic surface, which isn't really its intended purpose, but our cuts are fairly precise and we're packing it in top and bottom to prevent leaks. While the barrel is drying, we decided to make some more sparks and make a riser plate, which we will need later. We have officially moved on to the building of the fire chamber and where your rocket mass heater will be placed. Get your fire bricks and lay them out as we have done here. Of course, if you are building with different dimensions, then your layout will vary a bit, but the principle is still the same. We are leaving a hole in the right hand side for ash collection, which we will be using a loose fitting brick that will slide out when needed. Lay out the base layer for the chamber and fill any cracks in the center with fire brick mortar that will be in contact with the fire so ash and smoke doesn't escape. Now, with the way our fire bricks are laid out, we have a couple of bricks that will need to be cut in half. This is optional and purely cosmetic because the entire unit will have another layer of fire bricks running all around the centerpiece, which we have just created. So if you want to tackle cutting your fire bricks, we recommend a wet saw to prevent dust from flying. Hand saws are also an option, but just be sure to use proper safety equipment and a respirator. So once you have all the bricks cut and arranged in this fashion, now it is time to bust out the fire mortar yet again and seal off the inside of the chamber. Rubber gloves are the best way to fill in the cracks on the inside of the chamber. Unfortunately, I was unable to film this because I was on rubber glove duty while the mastermind was bringing in more bricks for the outside wall. Now it's time to grab the riser plate we were making outside in the workshop and fit it onto the bricks. It needs to be placed so that the heat pipe you have will be resting on the bricks underneath and not the metal. After the pipe is placed, use more mortar to secure it in place. The riser plate is just so that the insulation doesn't fall into the burn chamber. Now on the topic of insulation, we are using a type of cob for our build. You will need some clay. We've collected this when digging in the garden. Some coarse sand, not play sand. Play sand is too round and doesn't stick well enough to the clay. And some vermiculite.
It's vermiculite-y.
It's a good insulator and doesn't burn like straw. Mix it up until you get this kind of consistency.
You want this to be of a consistency where you scrunch it up and it pops apart if you push on it, so it's not too wet.
Now that the cob is all mixed up, get the second larger pipe and place it over the heat riser pipe, and place your natural insulation inside between the two pipes and pack it down as you go. Once the area has been filled, be sure to create a dome with the cob to allow the smoke to roll down the sides. Now fit the barrel on top as centered as possible to create good airflow. Use cob or mortar to secure the barrel in place and secure your exhaust vents. In our case, we are just stuffing pipes as far up the chimney as possible until we hit the fireplace damper.
Look at that draw.
Alright, so that's basically it. We have built a successful rocket mass heater. Normally the exhaust vent would go through a cob bench or used to heat something, but since this is a 4-inch system, its main purpose is for a backup heat source. A couple things in hindsight are that if you are going to be installing this on a floor that has wooden materials underneath like we are, a second layer of fire bricks on the bottom burn chamber is definitely required. We felt a noticeable difference on the floorboards and the ceiling of the basement. It's obviously recommended to install this heater on a concrete or dirt floor with nothing flammable underneath. Another thing is to build up bricks around the burn chamber to increase downward flow and stop snapping embers from bouncing out. Other than that, we've managed to build a rocket mass heater using a 4-inch system to work with our chimney. A super big thanks to Lazy Pirate Gaming for all the music. Real awesome guy from Australia. I'll leave his link in the description to his channel and all his social medias for you to check out. If this video helped you, be sure to leave a like or favorite so you can easily find it in the future. Hope you enjoyed, have a good day, and we shall see you next time.